15, so make sure to be in your safe place right on the border of Dorchester County and Colleton County. Givens, you should be okay now. So I know you're in the tornado warning, but back where you are, the rotation has passed you up. So Holly Ridge is really under the gun right now. So those are the areas that we're watching so closely. So we'll continue to watch this as it pushes inland. Sonia, can we get a look at the whole storm itself? Because I want people to get a context of how much longer we're going to be dealing with this. So the actual storm.
Here, let me switch over. You can see it there, and then let me go down and.
It's off to the south here.
Yeah, I got to switch to the composite to see it.
So here you go, and this is the front end of the storm. Now this storm is going to be loaded with heavy rain on the front end, and you can see those bands that continue to spiral in off the Atlantic Ocean. So we've got one coming through right now. We've got the heavy rain with that. It looks like maybe another band back here, maybe setting up around Savannah. There is the center of Idalia. Now, Idalia, did we get a 4 p.m. update on Idalia? So there should have been a 4 p.m. update. We may actually have a tropical storm here. So it was a Category 3 hurricane when it made landfall in the Big Bend of Florida. Now it is barely a hurricane, possibly even a tropical storm. I would imagine at 5 p.m. when they get their update, this will be a tropical storm. Now, one thing I'm looking at here too, it continues to jog very close to the coast. It's right around Savannah right now. The center of circulation, you can obviously see it. That's that swirl right there. It doesn't necessarily look as much like a hurricane as it did before, but this is going to try to get back out over water. That's not necessarily a bad thing, and that's for several reasons, because once it makes it out to sea, it's not coming back inland. It's going to continue to push off to the north and the east. So I say the quicker this thing gets off the coast, the better. Because if it does that, it'll put us on the back side of the storm. Winds are still 75 miles an hour, but if this should track a little bit farther to the east, so if it tracks to the east side of the cone here, that would be fantastic. That would be great. So, and the last update still had it as a hurricane when it comes through here.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a hurricane when it comes through here. It's going to be a tropical storm when it comes through here. You need to prepare for tropical storm conditions, winds 30 to 50 miles an hour, isolated tornadoes, the flooding, and we've got that high tide coming up tonight. So those are the main things that we're looking at. But if Idalia gets out into the Atlantic Ocean, that's going to put us on the backside of the storm. And if we're on the backside of the storm, that'll give us the offshore winds much quicker. That is huge. The quicker we can get those offshore winds in here, that's exactly what we're looking for, because with the offshore winds, then that's going to keep the tide from piling up as much as it's supposed to tonight at 8:24. I still think we're going to be dealing with major flooding in downtown Charleston, but if this gets offshore, it's actually better for us, and it would move away a little bit more quickly. So there it is right there. We still have our tornado warning.
Let's go back to that.
So, and there it is, right along Highway 61 here. It started along 17A. Now it's, if you're on 17A around Cottageville, you're no longer in the tornado warning. So if I told you to go to your safe place in Dorchester or Colleton County along 17A there around Cottageville, you're in the clear. Now right around Holly Ridge, you're still under the gun. So if you live right around Holly Ridge, right along the Edisto River here, that's where we're still looking at our tornado warning. And tornado warning will continue until 4:15. Are they saying anything in the chat about that, Sonia?
See if there's any updates there. There wasn't as of a minute ago. They just sent 2 more messages. Let's see. Okay, they've expired it.
So, okay, so even though it
will expire at 4:15.
It will expire
they
at
said
4:15.
it's weakened and has exited the warning area.
Yes. So, and that's what happens. The tornado warnings are put out for about a half hour. That's just how long a tornado warning lasts. But with the actual tornado, usually they only last a few minutes. So we're going to go ahead and get everybody back to regular programming. We're going to regroup here, and we've got a special newscast coming up for you of ABC News 4 at 4. So we're going to be sticking around with you all the way until 6:30. But for now, we'll take just a little bit of a break.
All right, Dave, we're actually going to continue this afternoon, but we will give you a break. He's been keeping us informed for the past hour now about these tornado warnings, and we've got team coverage all across the Lowcountry.
And we have crews stationed around the area from the beaches to downtown, even further inland. We want to get straight to it wherever this storm is taking us.
Let's go out to Trooper Bob. He's driving around the Tri-County area in the News 4 traffic tracker, and we find him now at the Battery where pumps right now are dumping rainwater into the harbor. Bob, these pumps have been on since very early this morning.
Yeah, let me show you the pumps. They've been out here. Actually, I was there at 4 o'clock this morning with the pumps here. I have City Councilman Mike Seekings here with me in the car. Councilman, these pumps, they actually turned them on at 8 o'clock this morning. How much water is actually getting pumped through here?
So the pump that's right in front of us right here, we just looked, it pumps about 264,000 gallons an hour. So it really helps get our drainage system. We're above the Limehouse Street Brick Arch drainage system. It's a linear system that's 5 feet high. Gets the water out, gets it supercharged. When it starts raining, it just jump starts the system and really helps.
Now, last time we had a significant rain event, this pump, you had a pump station set up further down the Battery, about a mile down. Do you monitor where you put these before the storm gets here?
We put them where we know they're going to have the most effect. And right here at Limehouse Street, because we've got a mile behind us of brick arches below the ground that are full of water, we know that this is going to give us the most relief throughout the peninsula. So really good place. And we've got a few pumps along the Battery. This isn't the only one. There's one down by the Coast Guard station. So we'll be pumping water from the peninsula out into the harbor and get ahead of what's coming right at us, which is this huge rainstorm.
All right, so you've been pumping at this one again since 8 o'clock this morning. You have seven pumps total going. Yep. How long do you expect these pumps to go?
We will run them as long as is necessary to keep the system fully charged, fully moving. As soon as the rain is done, we're still going to be pumping. We'll probably pump them at least till tomorrow midday, I would suspect, once all the water has been moved off the peninsula.
Well, there you go, guys. The city's working really hard to get these pumps out here and get ahead of the storm, actually. So right. You're doing a great job. Thank you very much for taking time with us.
Thanks.
And good luck for the rest of the storm.
And everybody, please stay home. Come and look at the low Battery tomorrow when the sun is out. Stay home tonight. Let us do our job. Let us get this place cleared out, and everybody be safe.
All right, guys. I'm going to send it back to you from the Battery.
All right, thanks, Trooper Bob. And we'll check in with him later. And a similar sentiment echoed by Governor Henry McMaster from what we just heard from Councilman Mike Seekings. He gave an update a couple of hours ago telling South Carolinians not to panic, but of course to be prepared.
We are not going to have any evacuations. We're not going to have any closing of state agencies. I repeat again, this does not appear to be one that requires any evacuation orders or closing of state agencies, but the schools, some of the schools are closed, some of them are, and we urge them to try to get back, open back up as quickly as possible. The longer the schools are closed and the children can't go to school, then we know those are consequences for that as far as learning.
Let's take a look at this video that someone posted to TikTok. Hard to believe. Look at that, a car thrown into the air and landing on its roof. We've learned a tornado touched down in Goose Creek, and the National Weather Service is investigating to confirm whether this was caused by that tornado. The police chief told us they received a call just before 12:30 about a tornado that touched down near a furniture store on Highway 52. And a little farther south, Edisto Island has been experiencing high tides and rain all day. This is a live look at the beach. You can see the palmettos there blowing in the wind, dark skies and rough waters.
And that's where we find our Floriana Boardman, who's been on Edisto since about noon. Floriana, we see the wind whipping your hair there. Talk about the storm as it's intensified throughout the day today.
That's for sure, and I can tell you we're definitely starting to feel those 30 to 50 mile per hour winds that Dave was talking about earlier. That wind is so strong, and it's making those waves incredibly large. I mean, they look to be about 5 to 6 feet tall right now. It's even making the foam, you can see the foam on the sand. It's moving the foam right towards us because that wind is just so strong. Now we're going to take you even a little bit further down here. One of those major concerns we've been hearing about all day today, we spoke to Mayor Crawford earlier. He says that main concern is going to be that inundation of water, and we're starting to on this front street right now. There's already a lot of flooding. People are able to drive around it right now, but he's advised everyone that lives at least on the first 6 blocks first blocks facing the beach to park away and park further back so that sand inundation, that water inundation doesn't affect them and doesn't affect their cars. It'll also allow for DOT to clean up better tomorrow. So they're already preparing. They've got fuel, they've got gas tanks. They're preparing to make sure that everyone stays safe. And that's the main thing, is that preparing for cleanup. So I'm going to toss it back to you guys in the studio. Reporting live in Edisto, Floriana Boardman.
Now, normally it doesn't take much for rain to bring the peninsula to a standstill, but leaders are hoping this time it's different. This is some video of those pumps in action that Bob was talking about over the Battery walls off of Murray Boulevard. There are 7 set up throughout downtown.
Yeah, Trooper Bob just showed us a few minutes ago and told us about the city leaders who are monitoring the flooding. Some of these pumps have been on since 8 o'clock this morning, and they've been running nonstop. Scott Eisberg is showing us conditions on Market Street in downtown Charleston right now. Scott, what's it looking like by you?
This is a pretty rare event. Hey, Mel, how are you guys doing? Market Street is pretty darn quiet, but there are a couple of tourists that came out. We found Zane in the rain. Zane, how's it going, buddy? Is this your first hurricane? He says, yes, it is. Dad, you guys came down from Jersey and brought the rain, as you said, with you, although I think the rain's going the opposite direction. What brought you out here on Market Street this afternoon?
We wanted to take Zane on his first trip, down to the south, and, see how he does with the airplane, and, and that's kind of until we heard Charleston's a pretty nice city, so.
First time here?
Yeah.
Welcome during a hurricane. That's a fantastic time to come.
Yeah.
Have you gotten to do anything, eaten any restaurants or anything like that, or has it been just walking around looking for rain and wind?
We're planning on going to the Oyster House, but they called us saying that they're closed today, so we're scavenging for some food right now, so.
Well, I got good news for you. The pizza place right in there. Jersey pizza is good. You'll have to compare the two. Giovanni's Pizza, we went over there and checked them out earlier. He said he'll be open till 10 o'clock. Nice meeting you guys.
Thanks.
Zane in the rain, stay dry, my friend. And as we talk about Market Street, it's pretty quiet. If you look on the ground, it's not anything spectacular, nothing extraordinary. But if you look over here down towards the water, it does get a little bit higher. So you see where it's going to flood. There's no question it's always down there near Qology that gets pretty high in the water. But right here in the market, all the shops are closed. Everything is closed down except the one pizza place. People in the hotels step out and look around, but really 2 or 3 rainstorms, and that was about it. Each of them lasted 5-6 minutes, and that was really it. So we haven't gotten the worst of it here downtown, and there's really no reason to check it out. Nobody's surfing or nobody riding bicycles or doing anything zany in the rain. Just enjoying a regular old day in Charleston for now. But stay safe, and we'll certainly keep you updated as the conditions change here downtown.
Here's your ABC4 Storm Tracker certified most accurate weather forecast.
And don't let those breaks fool you. Right now, let's switch our source. That's the problem here. Let's go ahead and switch over to Max 1. There we go. So don't get too comfortable, because in between these feeder bands, yeah, it's just fine. But then one of those feeder bands comes in very quickly, and you could have gusty winds, torrential downpours right on top of you. So we're still going to see bands of showers and thunderstorms coming through. In fact, the worst of the storm is not here yet. We're looking at the clouds out over the ocean right now, and look at the size of those waves. Those waves don't normally get that big on Edisto Beach. The tide is already up here. We still have 4 hours until high tide tonight. I expect the high tide to make it all the way up to the dunes, possibly washing over the dunes on Edisto Beach. Downtown Charleston, major flooding is expected. We've got 80 degrees with rain coming down at the airport, and here's the reason. It's because of Idalia. Now, this was the 2 p.m. update. That's where the storm was. It's already up here near Savannah now, so there's going to be another update coming out at 5 p.m. And notice 75-mile-an-hour wind. So it made landfall down here in the Big Bend of Florida, and it was a Category 3 hurricane. Now it's a Category 1 and barely. It's going to be a tropical storm here very soon, and that's what we're expecting. The tropical storm conditions, heavy rain, wind gusts, and that high tide cycle this evening. That is what I'm most concerned about. This is my biggest concern. I've had this graphic all week, and this has been my biggest concern the entire time. Those rounds of heavy rain, like Scott saw, putting down the heavy rain in downtown Charleston, there's already water that needs to be pumped out. We've got the onshore winds, and then 8:24, a lunar high tide. So with that lunar high tide, that means the full moon is going on. We're going to see the tide level very, very high. In fact, this is how high, up over 8 feet. We're expecting that tide at 8.5 feet. Major flooding in downtown Charleston this evening from about 8 o'clock until 10, 11 o'clock. It's going to be a huge issue. Do not go to downtown Charleston tonight. There is no flooding expected around high tide tomorrow morning. Moderate tomorrow evening. Flooding that I've always been concerned with. Now, to a little bit lesser extent, a moderate impact from the wind and the tornadoes, and the beach erosion also will have a moderate impact. The beaches are really going to get beat up tonight with those big waves and that higher than normal high tide. Looking at the winds right now, they're from the east and southeast off the ocean. But what we want is to get those offshore winds on the backside of the storm. And you can see the center of the storm very close to Savannah right now, and likely a tropical storm. Gusts, not too bad yet, but those wind gusts will spread up this evening. Conditions will go downhill. Now, maybe the rain will let up a little bit, but the winds are going to pick up, and we've got that high tide coming at 8:24. Outside right now, we're looking at temperatures anywhere from the mid-70s to the mid-80s. Beaufort actually warmed up to 84 degrees. We do have a tornado watch out. The tornado watch will continue through the evening. At this point, it's out till 10 p.m., but that may be extended, and we're watching. These are some nasty thunderstorms in the feeder bands out over the Atlantic Ocean, and these are the ones. I'm going to watch this one really closely that's about to come on shore right around Sullivan's Island, Isle of Palms, and we're watching those continuing to rotate in off the ocean. And here you go. We'll set things in motion, and there they are. Those feeder bands coming in, and they start to spin, and that's when we get those brief spin-up tornadoes. There's the center of our storm down here just off to the south of Savannah, and if this gets out over the ocean, that's not a bad thing. If it gets out over the ocean as a tropical storm, it's going to continue to move away and not come back our direction. So there it is, moving maybe a little bit farther to the east than expected, which is just fine, and it's going to continue to push offshore. Heavy rain expected through the rest of the evening. Here's Futurecast. Wind forward in time. See that? 7 o'clock, more rain bands setting up. 10 o'clock, maybe a little bit of a break. Then by 2 o'clock in the morning, we're on the backside of the storm. Winds are offshore, but we're still seeing some showers. 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, we're starting to clear out, and by tomorrow afternoon, we're looking at crystal clear blue skies. It's going to be absolutely gorgeous. Later Thursday, a little breezy, and Friday looks beautiful. Headed toward the holiday weekend, great. We just have to get through the next several hours. About the next 12 hours, be ready. 72 degrees tonight. Bands of heavy rain, very gusty winds. Those winds from the northwest tonight, 20 to 40 miles an hour. End of the day tomorrow, 84, a shower early, breezy and clearing later. By the afternoon, there might not even be a cloud in the sky, and lower humidity is coming our way too. Now, it is a storm tracker day tomorrow, but probably only until about 7 o'clock in the morning. After that, we'll turn sunny. Then we've got lots of sunshine on Friday, and look at that beautiful weekend. Highs topping off in the mid to upper 80s, lower humidity, lots of sunshine, and it will get a little bit hotter as we head toward the middle of next week.
All right, Dave, thanks. Well, we're taking a live look from one of the cameras at College of Charleston, where you can see, of course, gray skies out there. We know rain continuing to fall across parts of the Lowcountry this afternoon.
Ariane Emerson joining us live from downtown. We saw Scotty in one part of downtown. Ian, you're by the Battery. How's it looking out there?
It's extremely windy out here, and it's rough as these bands come through. Let me show you what we're seeing behind me right now.
You know, it's still pretty clear, but this is just right after one of these bands that came through. The reason we're standing out here, we're right here at that corner of the Battery. You know, as you go up Rainbow Row to East Base, that's where we are right now, right past the Yacht Club. Now, when we came out here about a half an hour ago, that's when we were getting those tornado warnings. And you're going to look at some video right now that I just posted a little while ago on my Twitter. It shows one of those bands that was coming through with what we were concerned about, an area that we were concerned about that was headed into the Mount Pleasant area. So that was one of these tornado warning areas that we were keeping an eye on, and we were sort of in pole position right here to see it from this battery. Now I've got some College of Charleston students who are out here right now. They just happen to be with us right as this happened. Tell me what you thought. Tornado warning go off.
Yeah, so we were on our way down here, and you know, the alarm went off. We were all pretty scared, but we weren't really sure how legit it was. We got down here, saw it over at the end there, and it was pretty dark and scary. It moved pretty fast, so yeah.
I know it was pretty powerful looking, wasn't it? It was like really gray. And so this is Aaron and Sadie, right? Sophomore, and Mia, all sophomores at College of Charleston, and you're out here. Some bad flooding last year, didn't you? Now tell me, when you saw those big clouds, what did you think?
I was a little nervous because I wasn't really expecting an actual tornado, and someone down there was like, there's a real tornado, and then you showed us the video, and I was a little nervous we were going to get hit by it.
Yeah, absolutely. Mia, we're hearing that there's going to be absolutely some major flooding downtown. Got any ideas for your friends that are at College of Charleston right now? What do they need to do to stay safe?
I would say definitely, yesterday you should have got some water and food and just kind of bunker down and hang out with your friends. You know, I wouldn't really be out here like we are, but, you know, we got this great opportunity, so why not?
Well, great. Well, thanks. I'm so glad you guys came and talked to me for a second. Yeah, we're all keeping a really close eye on this weather, of course, and we're staying with our meteorologists and everything that's going on right now in this area. You know, right now, you know, we've said it before, it feels like we're just in the middle of between these bands as they start rolling through with that wind and rain. Just never know when things are going to pick up. So we're going to be keeping an eye on it and certainly getting to where really the problem areas are going to be downtown today. I'm reporting live on the Battery. Right now, I'm Ann Emerson. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Ann. Coming up, we get a look at conditions in Florida after Idalia made landfall along the Big Bend as a Category 3 hurricane this morning.
With us as we keep you updated on the storm.
News 4 Storm Tracker Chief Meteorologist Dave Williams keeping a close eye on that radar. So Dave, what's the latest?
Well, you know that tornado warning that we had for North Mount Pleasant? Well, one of my friends lives up there in Carolina Park, and he sent me a picture of a tree that was down there. Don't necessarily know if it was a tornado, but does it matter if it was a tornado or straight line winds? A tree got blown down. We've heard of a car being flipped over by a small tornado. So it doesn't matter small, it doesn't matter big. These tornadoes and gusty winds are doing damage, so that is not good. Tropical storm warning is in effect. We're looking at heavy rain coming down from time to time. It's in between. It's those bands that come in off the Atlantic Ocean that do the damage. That's where you see the gusty winds, the heavy rain. The coastal flooding is going to come later around high tide. High tide this evening at 8:24. We've got gusty winds for sure. Even if they aren't tornadoes out there, the gusty winds are doing damage, and it's not the worst thing that we've ever seen, but we are seeing the moderate impacts from Idalia as it pushes up from the south. Here, we'll take a look outside, and looking up the ICW, we've got the clouds there, and you can see the rain band. See, as you look up toward Capers and Dewey's, very, very heavy rain. But here at the marina on the Isle of Palms, nothing at all. So when you're stuck in one of those bands, that's when the heavy rain comes down. We've got 81 degrees and rain at the Charleston airport. Here's what we're looking at. Tropical storm warning. The tropical storm warning is in effect pretty much for everyone. That tropical storm warning, we're expecting the tropical storm conditions, and we're getting those. Now, we do have a hurricane warning here for coastal Colleton, Beaufort, and Jasper. I would imagine at 5 p.m. this is actually going to switch to a tropical storm warning, because I think our hurricane won't even be a hurricane anymore. It will likely just be a tropical storm. Wind gusts outside right now, not too bad just yet. But the storm is still way down here south of Savannah. So as that continues to move up closer to us, that's when we see the winds pick up. So the rain may let up a little bit, but the winds are going to pick up later on this evening. And with the onshore winds, that's going to cause a higher than normal high tide. Here are some of the wind gusts expected later tonight. 35 to 40 mile an hour wind gusts, maybe even a little bit higher. And then as we go into the early morning hours of our Thursday, looking at those winds still gusting up over 30 miles an hour. Into the later morning, winds calming down just a little bit, and by the afternoon, things will look much better. We only have to get through about 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, and things will start to clear up. Tornado watch continues until 10 this evening. We've already had tornado warnings. We've had confirmed tornadoes, so be ready for those. They're usually very small, very weak. They spin up very quickly, but I am watching each of these storms out over the Atlantic Ocean. That looks like a hook on that one already, so we're going to watch these. If they come back toward the coast, that's where you're going to see your tornado warnings. So still a possibility for tornado warnings. That's until 10 p.m. We are watching the center of Idalia right there, just off to the south of Savannah, and if this gets out over the water, that's great, because that means it's going to be moving away from us. We don't really want that center to go right over top of our heads. If it goes out over the ocean, that's a little bit better, and that would also help to minimize our high tide a little bit later, because hopefully we start to get those winds a little bit more offshore. That is my hope. But we'll have to wait and see what Idalia wants to do. We're just sitting and watching at this point. So we've got the gusty winds. We'll still be right around 80 at 7 p.m. Temperature's not cooling down a whole lot. 78 at 9 with the rain, showers and thunderstorms all night, the gusty winds. And what we're really watching for is that high tide cycle this evening. That comes up at 8:24. We'll take a full look at the forecast and get you a look at a beautiful Labor Day weekend. We've just got to get Idalia in and out of here. It's going to get worse before it gets better, so plenty more to talk about.
All right, thanks, Dave. We'll check back in with you a little bit later. Everyone's attention this morning was squarely on Florida's Gulf Coast as Idalia made landfall in the Big Bend region as a Category 3 hurricane with wind speeds up to 125 miles per hour.
Danny Travis from our sister station joins us in the city of Perry with her first look at the storm damage.
Hurricane Idalia made landfall on Keaton Beach, which is about 20 miles south of Perry, where we're at right now. Now, driving here was a challenge in itself, but nothing compared to what we saw when we got here. And even after seeing the severe destruction right here behind me, people we spoke with in the area say they're lucky it wasn't worse. US 27 is an all too familiar road connecting locals between Gainesville and Perry. now left looking more like a maze after Hurricane Idalia swept through Wednesday morning.
That's the only word I really got for it is catastrophic.
In the city of Branford, massive toppled trees like this one line the sides of the road from the triple-digit wind speeds, many bringing down power lines and damaging fences at their new final resting points. Further up in the city of Mayo are first signs of building damage. Here, a straight line of 10 roofing stripped from multiple buildings at this dairy farm. It's in Perry city limits, though, that Idalia's intensity showed no remorse.
I've dealt with plenty of storms, and this one is just too crazy for such a small town.
But holes in the side of buildings, whole roofs ripped off businesses, and signs wiped away as if by nothing is almost an all too familiar sight for some.
I'm a lifelong resident. I've been through hurricanes, tornadoes through the 60s, 70s, 80s, right on up.
That's why it's this more than 120-year-old house still standing in the heart of Perry, seemingly untouched except some debris that leaves this local with something to smile about after everything that happened.
I got one big old dead or rotten out pecan tree, and I was just hoping it wouldn't come this way.
And it didn't. And even though the emotional and physical wounds are still fresh, residents say it's already time to start picking back up the pieces. I'll be out here again around the Big Bend region, speaking to locals about how they plan to start the cleanup process. Reporting in Perry, I'm Danny Travis.
Well, back here in South Carolina, conditions on Edisto seem to be worsening. We're taking a live look at the beach right now. Gray skies and that wind, of course, continuing to whip up.
And you see the clouds look like they've actually gotten darker even over the last half hour or so. Our Sadeja Smalls has been on Edisto this afternoon. Sadeja, how are things looking right now?
Hey, Katie. Well, as you can see, it is pretty dark out here, but I mean, this wind is crazy. The waves are coming. They're crashing at us. They're starting to hit towards the pier right here at the stairs. And actually, there's a lot of birds that have been trying to kind of land safely on the wooden, but it's just the wind is just so strong to where they're struggling a little bit. Now, earlier a little bit, there was some people out here on the beach just walking and, you know, kind of enjoying the waves. And now it's kind of a ghost town. We don't really see much action or activity going on over here because this wind is very, very, very strong. This is not a good time to be outside in this condition. Like everyone was saying, just make sure you're staying inside and staying, you know, away from any wind as you can because it's strong. It'll knock you over if you don't get a good balance.
If it was a negative tide tonight at 8 o'clock, it wouldn't be a problem. But, you know, but with it being a king tide, even a regular high tide on top of a surge is a problem. But with a king tide means it's going to be higher than normal. So on top of a surge, you're going to have water and sand inundation. We're just planning for that. So.
Now, like I said a little bit earlier, and what the mayor was saying, just make sure that you guys are just being safe and staying indoors. If you don't have to be outside, don't be outside. This wind is very, very strong. But I'm going to go ahead and send it back to you all in the studio. I'm Sadeja on Edisto Beach.
All right, Sadeja, thank you. And we saw people walking their dogs on that beach.
The dog was in the ocean at one point.
I know. I was cringing, so I'm glad those people got off the beach and is heeding to those warnings. Our team coverage now continues with Conley Grayson.
She joins us up in Somerville with a look at conditions in that area.
Hi, Katie. We are here in downtown Somerville, and right now the rain is coming down. It's not coming down too hard, but we are starting to see some water keep up on the ground. Now, if you look over at the sidewalk, you can see we've got an inch or two covering it right now. Looking at the grass, we definitely see some saturation, some puddles starting to form. As for the streets, they look still pretty clear. We see plenty of cars, plenty of people out still. Stores are still open, many people driving by, so it doesn't look too terrible here quite yet.
It was like 30% water in early the morning time. This afternoon is coming down pretty like 60 to 70% now, but I called my brother. He's up in Greenville. He was telling me that he thinks that, you know, the Florida storm may drop to tropical storm, but it's down there hitting hurricane style. He told me when he gets up here, we'll probably have less weather, but still a lot of flooding.
We are hours away from when Idalia reaches the Lowcountry, but right now we're still seeing the roads pretty clear, just a few puddles here and there on the side of the roads and some saturated grass.
All right, Conley Grayson was reporting in Somerville this afternoon. We saw people out on the roads there, and a lot of people safe at home, getting out of work and school early, but there are people who need to get on the roads.
News 4's Lauren Lennon and Trooper Bob are tracking things for us this afternoon. Lauren and Bob, what are you seeing?
I'm on the road with Trooper Bob, and right now we're actually on Highway 17, and as you can see, the rain has stopped, but just earlier today when we were on East Bay Street, the rain was pouring down heavy. I mean, there was low visibility. The cars around us were going very slow as to take precautions, and as that rain continues throughout the day, we highly advise that watch out for the standing waters, watch out for flooding roads, and do not drive through any pods of flooding because you do not know how deep that water is. And if you see barricades on the road, do not drive around them. They are here for your safety. Trooper Bob, you have anything else you recommend?
Yeah, it's going to be real dangerous tonight because you're not going to be able to see. Visibility is going to be low because just of darkness itself and that tide coming in, the streets flooding. You might go down the street and come back 20 minutes later, it might be underwater. A lot of one-way streets in Charleston, you might get boxed in, and that's the last thing you want to do during the flood. I'll send it back to you guys. My recommendation is stay home tonight, come back out tomorrow when the things are looking a lot better.
That's a great recommendation.
Great advice.
Yeah.
Charleston said it earlier. Stay in. If you have power, do a movie night, a game night. Just stay indoors.
Absolutely. And as conditions pick up throughout the evening, your power might go out. And here's a look at some of the areas where people are already reporting outages, kind of sprinkled here throughout the Lowcountry. We'll be right back as we continue to track Adalia.
Today is a Storm Tracker Day, and the News 4 Storm Tracker weather team is working for you, tracking Adalia, monitoring potential flash flooding and gusty winds. Trust News 4 Storm Tracker Weather, the Lowcountry certified most accurate weather forecast.
After my accident, I was stuck in between a car wreck and an insurance company. I called Shelly Leak, and she got me $395,000.
Call 843-225-5000 or go to callshellynow.com.
Stick around for your News 4 Storm Tracker weather forecast, sponsored by West Shore Home, America's most admired home remodeling brand.
West Shore Home prides itself on being the fastest and most convenient option for homeowners looking to update their shower or bath.
She consults with you to
dollars for our clients who were injured in accidents. When we take your case, it's because we understand your needs and we believe we can help. Then we get to work fighting for you.
Sonia has it right now. Back to a tropical. Oh, tornado warning. Well,
for Berkeley. Berkeley and and Charleston County until 5:15.
Let's go ahead and switch gears then.
Yeah, do they want to go
I've got
to,
it here,
they can take
Sonia.
Max too if they want.
If they want, I've got it right here too. So we have a new tornado warning. Let's stick with Max 1. I do have. We'll go ahead and jump into this. Sorry, this is how.
All right, here while you're doing that,
works.
I will fill everybody in on the latest. So. Tornado warning for Charleston and Berkeley County until 5:15. So we've got a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located near Wando. So this was an area where we were tracking earlier.
Yeah.
It's moving north at 50. So this is, again, a radar indicated rotation, Berkeley, Charleston County, only portions of the county until 5:15. So for about another 25 minutes, we've got a tornado warning in effect. So Dave is pulling it up on radar here.
This is some of the areas that were hit earlier, and I got a picture from a friend in Carolina Park. They had some damage there. So Carolina Park, you're under the gun once again. So we're seeing the rotation right there. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on the area that I'm looking at very closely. It's right here, and that would be right around Garrensbridge Road. That's going to continue on over toward the Wando River. Oh, there, it's moving at 50 miles an hour. So there, it's already moving into Berkeley County. So Charleston County already out of it. So right around Old Joe right now, this tornado is moving very, very quickly. Let me see if I can go ahead and get, we can take a look
I bet this was the couplet we were watching when it was out over Sullivan's Island. Or,
out over the ocean.
Yeah.
So there it is. There's your rotation right along Highway 41, right around Old Joe. So if you're along Highway 41 in Berkeley County, just into Berkeley County from Daniel Island there, make sure that you are in your safe place. We are seeing that rotation right now. So Berkeley County, you are under the gun for this severe thunderstorm that has a tornado warning out for it. The tornado warning will continue here just a little bit longer. We got the watch information, and there it is until 5:15. So it's already moved out of Charleston County. I'll tell you that right now. It's moving at 50 miles an hour, so it's just hauling from Charleston into Berkeley County, and these thunderstorms do move very quickly. So if you're along Highway 41 in Berkeley County from Wando up to the north, up toward Jamestown, please get into your safe place right now. Get to the ground floor of your house. Make sure that you are in your safe place. So let's go ahead. We'll take a look at the velocity here, and there we're seeing it. There's that rotation right in this area. So right around Wando, we are seeing that rotation crossing the Wando River into Berkeley County at this point, right near where Highway 402 splits off and heads to the north and west there. Make sure that you are under cover. Some of the spots that we want, Old Joe, right along Three Brothers Road. Please take cover right now. Dog Swamp Road. We're looking at Southampton Road. Canehoy Road. Make sure that you are in your safe place, because this thunderstorm is moving very quickly through Berkeley County right now. So it's this particular thunderstorm that we're looking at as it makes its way into Berkeley County right along Highway 41. So we are looking at the rotation on that thunderstorm. It's moving very, very quickly. I'm going to go ahead and show you how quick this thunderstorm is moving. We'll go ahead and play it for you. Look at that. It is just flying. So, and that's part of the reason that these thunderstorms do start to spin. They come in off the very flat Atlantic Ocean, and then they move over land, and land has a lot of objects like trees and houses, and that adds friction, and that friction starts the entire thunderstorm spinning. So it's leaving a very smooth environment and moving into an environment where there is a lot of friction. So that's what we're looking at right now. Tornado warning from Charleston into Berkeley County. My main concern is along Highway 41, right around Wando, stretching up toward Old Joe. If you live in this area, please take cover. This is just off to the west of Awendaw, right along the Charleston and Berkeley County line there. So that's the spot that we're watching very, very closely. See if we can pick up anything, see if we have possibly something there right around Highway 41 and 402. So there may be a tornado on the ground. So it was a radar indicated tornado,
it was a
correct?
radar indicated, correct.
So it is a radar indicated tornado, but even so, take it very seriously. This severe thunderstorm with a tornado warning as it continues to move through Berkeley County right along Highway 41 there. So I'll go ahead and jump up in front of the wall and we'll take a look at that. So here we go. It's this spot. So we've even got a lightning strike out there. We haven't seen a whole lot of lightning, but we are looking at that very heavy rainfall. This thunderstorm making its way from Charleston into Berkeley County right along Highway 4. This is Highway 41 from Wando on up toward where 402 splits off, moves through the Francis Marion National Forest out there and heads over toward Monk's Corner. So that's where we're looking at this thunderstorm moving, and it's moving off to the north very, very quickly at 50 miles an hour. So it'll continue to push off to the north and move through Berkeley County here. So live sweep right there, and it shows some rain behind that, but it's this part right here really approaching Highway 402, or yeah, 402 and 41. This continues up toward Jamestown on 41 there. So at the intersection of Highway 402 and 41, that's where I'm most concerned with this thunderstorm as it continues to push off to the north. So these thunderstorms coming in off the Atlantic Ocean very quickly, and as they come in off the Atlantic Ocean, they can start to spin. So this one here, we do have that tornado warning that continues until 5:15 right along Highway 41. So Sony, do you have anything on Max 2 there?
Well, I was looking at the velocity here. I can switch over to that.
Okay, so if we go over to Max 2, Sonia has the velocity scan on this, and looks like we got a little bad information there. So
yeah, with one of the...
So not exactly sure what's going on there. It
But you
looks
can
like
still
the
kind of
radar's...
see the road. I mean, even though it's blue, like you can tell behind it, it's red.
Yes.
So, yeah, where it's releasing that light blue, it's really some green and some red.
And that's the area that we've been watching. So right along here, that's where our tornado warning is in effect right now. A lot of new neighborhoods popping up along this area, just off to the east of Highway 41 in Berkeley County. So if you live in any of those neighborhoods along Highway 41, please take cover right now. Head to the lowest level of your house, to a small room like a coat closet, a powder room, a pantry if you have a large pantry without a window. You want to stay away from windows, because a lot of times what happens is tree branches can get blown down, whole trees can get knocked over, and it's not necessarily the tree that's going to get you. What happens is it hits your house and the siding can come flying off, the windows can get shattered, so just make sure you're away from those windows. So there it is, Old Joe on Highway 41, right up toward the 402 split there, where it forks off and heads through the Francis Marion National Forest there. So we're looking right along Southampton Road, we're looking along United Road, Payos Trail. So these are the spots where we're...
Steed Creek Road, I feel like
Steed Creek Road is right there, so that goes from Awendaw as it makes its way across Charleston County into Berkeley County. So Steed Creek Road right there. So you are right in the middle of this tornado warning. So these tornado warnings pop up very quickly, and this is one of those that popped up very quickly. We continue to watch those thunderstorms out over the Atlantic Ocean, and there's another one coming in off the ocean right along Highway 17 up toward Awendaw. So we have to continue to watch each and every one of these as they come in off the ocean, because they start to spin, because it's nice and flat here over the Atlantic Ocean, and these thunderstorms can move along just fine. But what happens is once they move inland, they start to encounter things like trees and houses, and that's friction. And the friction makes those thunderstorms start to spin. So we're seeing some rotation with those thunderstorms as they come in off the ocean. Now this one here has made its way into Berkeley County. It's right along Highway 41, right around Wando, stretching up toward Old Joe, getting a few lightning strikes out there. Just stay indoors. Do not try to locate these tornadoes. Get to a safe place, because they are moving so quickly, and they're inside of heavy rain. These torrential downpours are just, they're getting wrapped up inside of those, and you can't see it coming. there's a wall of water coming at you, and wrapped within that wall of water is a tornado. So you don't even see it, and you don't have time to get yourself to a safe place. So just make sure you're in your safe place before that thunderstorm even gets there. Make sure that you do get to the ground floor, into a coat closet, into a powder room, a safe place. Crank up the volume on your TV, and I'll let you know when the all clear is given. But right now, there's that rotation. So it's a pretty broad rotation right along Highway 41 there. So here's the Wando River. You cross over into Wando there. If you head down Mathis Ferry Road or Clements Ferry Road there, Clements Ferry heads on to Daniel Island. So this is just past where the Clements Ferry Road meets up with 41 there in the Francis Marion Forest, and there are a lot of new neighborhoods that have popped up along here. So if you live in one of those neighborhoods, this is that we're looking at that tropical storm or hurricane creating these tropical storm conditions, and this is a tornado warning within one of the feeder bands. So those feeder bands that go back into the tropical system, those are the ones that cause the rotation. So right now, right along Highway 41, where it splits with 402. So we continue to watch that. The rotation wrapped up there into eastern Berkeley County, and that's going to continue to move inland. There you see it. So that's moving right along the Wando River up toward the 402 and 41 split, and it's going to move on over toward Cordsville. Cordsville, you're under the tornado warning, so if you live in Cordsville, make sure to take cover at this point. So usually these tornadoes, they come down very quickly. They spin up, and then by the time they're done, they end very quickly and they dissipate. So usually they don't last very long. That is our tornado warning right there, right along the Wando River, moving back into Berkeley County. So we're continuing to watch our tornado warning. That stays out until 5:15. So we're sitting at 5 o'clock right now. We've got about another 15 minutes. But there, you're just on the other side of this. Limerick, if you live near Limerick, there's Cordsville, Old Cordsville. You are under the tornado warning as this storm moves very quickly off to the north. So there is our cell that's moving from Charleston. Now it's in Berkeley County, and it's going to continue to move off to the north very quickly, headed toward Cordsville right now. So at the 402 and 41 split, that's where we're looking. Old Joe, you're still under the gun, so make sure you stay in that safe place away from the windows, because you don't want something to hit those windows and that glass shatters, because that creates a very dangerous situation. So we'll continue to watch this, push through. It's going to move right on through Berkeley County. Usually these thunderstorms do weaken as they push a little bit farther inland, but they're putting down torrential downpours. We've seen some of these thunderstorms put down 1 inch or 2 inches of rain within a half an hour to 45 minutes. So they are putting down very heavy rain in a short period of time. That could cause some localized flooding. So tonight is not the night to head out. Tonight is the night to stay indoors. And sometimes in between these feeder bands, it looks clear. It looks not too bad outside. And like what we're seeing in downtown Charleston right now, not too bad. But you go just off to the north of Charleston, and we've got these strong and severe thunderstorms with the tornado warning right there. We've got a tornado watch that continues until 10 p.m. this evening. So these are the thunderstorms that we continue to watch. So those feeder bands just move right in off the Atlantic Ocean, and these are all wrapping back into the center of our storm. So Idalia is down around Savannah right now. And have we gotten the latest update on Idalia, Sonia?
Let's see, I'm sure we have.
We should have gotten an
Also, I'm looking at the rotation, and it definitely doesn't look as strong as it was earlier. So let me put that.
So not seeing quite as much rotation there, but we do still have lightning and heavy rain. And even if this thunderstorm isn't producing a tornado, it could be producing winds strong enough to knock over trees and branches. So it doesn't really matter if it's a tornado or straight line winds. If it's doing damage, you don't want to be outdoors in an unsafe place. You want to be inside your house, away from the windows, protecting yourself, protecting your family, and waiting until this thunderstorm passes you by. So folks that live in Wando, you're in the clear now. Folks that are in Old Joe, you're in the clear now. So this tornado warned thunderstorm continues to move past you. So it's right just past the 402 split. So it looks like as we go from 402 across 41 here, just past the 402 split, there's where we've got our heaviest of the rain and likely our rotation headed up toward Bethera. So that's going to continue to move right along Highway 41 through Berkeley County. So these are the tornado warned areas that are right along Highway 41 there. Have we heard anything from the Weather Service, Sonia, on this?
No updates right now. There's also some tornado warnings down into Georgia as well.
Okay, so
but nothing close to here, but still have that active tornado warning until 5:15.
Okay, so that's our tornado warned storm. So right on both sides of Highway 41 here, even on 402 here as you go through the Francis Marion Forest on over toward Cordsville, please make sure you're in your safe place there around Cordsville. So that's going to continue to move off to the north very quickly. This thunderstorm rolling through at about 50 miles an hour. So that's what happens. This is getting wrapped into the center of a tropical system. And when you have a tropical system, you really get those winds pulling in the thunderstorms off of the ocean, and that's what we're seeing right now. These strong and severe thunderstorms coming in off the ocean, causing damage. So we are looking at that, and we're looking at the heaviest of the rain right here in the red color. So right there, right around the 41 and 402 split headed up toward Jamestown and Bethera. That's where we're seeing some of the heaviest rain right now, and that rain is just torrential out there. When you get caught under one of those downpours, it is really coming down. So if
correlation coefficient, but I thought I'd say, let me go back here.
So there's our tornado warning, and we are still seeing some rotation there, so it looks like
broader for sure.
So it looks like here's our wind going away from the radar. Here's our wind going toward the radar. So the radar pretty far away down there in Yemassee, South Carolina, but certainly seeing some rotation in here right along Highway 41. Now let's check this over here, Sonia, down to your.
I can't see where you're pointing at.
Just below Limerick there,
just below Limerick,
south of Cordsville. So that area over there. Not seeing the rotation there. So the rotation certainly where the heaviest of the rain is right in here, right along Highway 41 as you head from the 402 split up toward Bethera and continue on toward Jamestown. So that's the spot that's under the gun right now. Limerick, you need to be in your safe place, because even if this isn't producing a tornado, it could be producing winds in excess of 75 miles an hour. That's strong enough to knock trees over, and you want to be in your safe place. So there it is right now, right along Highway 402 and 41 through Berkeley County. We've got some lightning strikes in there. We haven't seen a whole lot of lightning, but we will continue to see those thunderstorms. So we're getting updates. I'm getting them from the Hurricane Center right now.
So it's a tropical storm.
Yep.
Winds are at 70 miles per hour, moving northeast at 21. So it's a tropical storm now. So basically continuing to weaken, and that's been a trend we've seen since it made landfall as a strong Category 3 this morning in Florida.
And I also saw, Sonia, that our hurricane warnings that were in Jasper, Beaufort, and coastal Colleton, those are now back to tropical storm warning.
Good.
So the entire area now under a tropical storm warning and also under a tornado watch. So we're all under that tornado watch until 10, and we're going to continue to see that as long as we're off to the northeast quadrant of the center of the storm. So could we show the entire storm, Sonia? Go ahead and take a look at. We'll go ahead and switch over here, and we're going to get a look at Idalia. Idalia is very close to Savannah right now, and it is back to a tropical storm. I heard a lot of things that I like from what Sonia just said. One, we're back to a tropical storm. So there is Tropical Storm Idalia working up on Savannah right now. I like that it's back to a tropical storm. That means we're not going to see the hurricane force winds down around the Savannah River. So for our friends and neighbors down around the Savannah River, we're looking at tropical storm force wind gusts. What I also like, and the models were having a tough time with this, the track forecast a little tough with this, it looks like it's going to try to get out over the Atlantic Ocean. So the circulation a little bit harder to pick up now because this is making a transition from a tropical system to a mid-latitude cyclone. So what's a mid-latitude cyclone? It's one of those storm systems that blows through here on a regular basis. A low pressure center with a cold front and a warm front. It's trying to make that transition right now as it moves over land. So land, hurricanes and land don't get along at all because of the friction coefficient, and the fuel for a tropical system is very warm water. If it's over land, it's not getting the fuel into the system, so it weakens very quickly. And there it is. It continues to move to the north and the east. So if it continues northeast, it's going to be real close to the coast through the evening. My one hope is we're sitting at 5 o'clock here. We've got about 3.5 hours until high tide coming up tonight. I don't think it's going to get off the coast quick enough. See how these bands come in off the ocean? That means the winds are coming in off the ocean. We've got high tide at 8:24 tonight, and that's going to continue to pile up the water close to the coast. These rain bands will continue to drop heavy amounts of rain, and we're seeing another one just set up here. This is the makings of our next rain band, just off to the north of Savannah, up there toward Beaufort, out toward Hunting and Fripp Island. This is the making of our next feeder band, and this is the one that's going to have tropical storm force wind gusts with it because you're right near the center of that tropical storm. So as that pushes off to the north and east, that's going to track right over top of us. So we do still have our tornado warning out here in Berkeley County. They have shaved it back quite a bit, so we're looking at a very small tornado warning right now, and there it is. So it's right along Highway 41. So Cordsville no longer in this. It's really right around the intersection of 402 and 41 there through the Francis Marion Forest. I know a lot of new neighborhoods are in this area, especially off to the south. So if you're off to the south of the 402 and 41 split in Berkeley County, you are in the clear. Like I say, turn up the volume on that TV because I will let you know when you're in the clear. So if you live on Highway 41 south of the 402 split, headed on over toward the Berkeley and Charleston line, you're in the clear. But north of the 402 split along Highway 41, between that split and Bethera, that's where you're under the gun, right there around Witherby, Limerick. You are under a tornado warning, so continue to stay in your safe place. This tornado warning continues for about another 5 minutes. Even if it's not producing a tornado, there are wind gusts inside of this thunderstorm that could be gusting up over 75 miles an hour. So we're watching very strong gusty winds with this thunderstorm as it moves through Berkeley County. That is going to cause some damage. I know earlier we saw a car that got flipped into Berkeley County right around Goose Creek on Highway 52. So these tornadoes, they spin up very quickly. They do some damage, enough damage to pick enough wind speed to pick up a car, and we could get straight line winds that do that as well. So our rotation is right along Highway 41 there. It's pretty broad at this point, which is not a bad thing. The more broad it gets, the less chance you have of getting a tornado, but you can still get those strong gusty winds. So we are looking at those strong gusty winds. So I heard something in my ear there.
Let's see. It looks like they did cancel it.
Okay. So the rotation, like I was saying, and Sonia was shaking her head.
It looked, well, they're going to let it expire
at 5:15. It got nice and broad.
So yeah.
So yes, our tornado warning is going to be allowed to expire. So if I did tell you to go to your safe place and I told you to crank up the volume on your TV, go ahead, get out of your safe place. It looks like our tornado threat is over, but there's still a strong thunderstorm with gusty winds. So wait indoors until this one passes by. And I suggest everyone just stays indoors this evening because we've got a long way to go. I think the worst of the weather that we're going to see is going to be right around high tide, 8 o'clock tonight, 8:24, until about midnight. So where are we going to go from here?
There was a funnel cloud reported by weather spotters. So
okay, so there was a funnel cloud with this.
Yeah, there was a funnel cloud with that.
So
this was at their, they issued it when it was near Hughie, so they had said that that's why they issued the warning, because weather spotters reported a funnel cloud.
Okay, so it did have a funnel cloud, no reports just yet of a touchdown, so hopefully there wasn't one. But right now we're going to go back over to Katie Solt, and we'll continue with more weather here in just a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Dave. We're going to give you a little bit of a break here so you can keep an eye on things as they move through our area. Out and about, though, driving around is our trooper, Bob. He's in North Mount Pleasant trying to find some of that damage. We were getting reports from viewers. So, Bob, what are you seeing right now?
You know, I was literally 2 miles from that tornado warning Dave and Sonia were telling us about on my way up here near Carolina Park. Let me show you the roadway there. This is the end of Banning Road. This is a big kind of a horseshoe here. You can see the porta potties in the road. It's dismantled. The Jeep in front of me has damage to the left side of it. Also, it's hard to see, but the house right in front of me and then the house behind me, they have damage to the front windows and doors. They've already plywooded this up, but this is the area that was reported that a tornado came through here. Or we're still going to ride around and try to check on some other damage, but when you hear a tornado warning, please get inside, get off the roadway because of flying debris. You don't know what's coming. Again, this porta potty came out of nowhere and hit this Jeep here and dismantled itself.
All right, thank you, Bob. We'll check in with you a little bit later. A little further south, Edisto Island has been seeing high tides and rain all day. Here's a live look at the beach. Clouds getting darker, rough waters, and it looks like the beach warning flag is red. I certainly hope no one is out there right now. The winds really seem to be picking up, but that is where we find our Floriana Boardman, who's been out on Edisto since noon. Floriana, what are things looking like right now?
Katie, the wind has definitely gotten stronger and stronger since we have been out here. You can kind of see how those waves have just gotten bigger, and you can see how the foam from those waves is actually just hitting us because the wind is so strong. Now those waves look about to be maybe 6 or even 7 feet tall. They're getting larger and larger. That tide has been coming in all day today, and it is slowly reaching the dunes. You can see just how far up it is. It's maybe about 7 feet from the dunes where it's going to maybe reach some of these houses back here. Now that's one of the major concerns we heard from Mayor Crawford today. He told us it's really bad when that wind, those waves and that storm surge and the rain, it all comes together and hopefully today it's not too bad for those living here.
Right now they're saying we're going to have a king tide tonight, about 8 or 9 o'clock of a 7.5 foot king tide, and then they're calling for about 3 feet of storm surge on top of that. So we're looking at, 10.5 feet of storm surge by 8 or 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So we're going to have water under houses and water across the lower spots of the dune. So.
Right now, that major concern is really just that wind. Dave was talking about those 30 to 50 mile per hour winds earlier today, and we can definitely feel that right now. There's also been some flooding here on this front street. People are having to drive around and make sure that they're not getting their cars inundated with salt water. So that's been another major concern people have been dealing with here. But as of right now, everyone's been staying safe. Not too many people out on the beach. There have been a few people coming out, but nothing crazy. I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you, Floriana. Now, another area prone to flooding, downtown Charleston. We've been talking about this for days. We know road closures will be beginning here at 6 o'clock, 6:30, even with CPD. Our Webb Wright is live on Market Street with conditions in downtown. Webb?
Absolutely. Right now, it's pretty dry, but the wind is starting to pick up. Now, I know the real brunt of the weather is supposed to come between 8 and midnight, but we want to tell you right now, look at some of these businesses. Yes, we're going to go back. We've got a tornado.
All All right, we've got a tornado warning in Berkeley County until 5:45. So the National Weather Service saying a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located 8 miles northeast of Hugie, moving north at 40 miles per hour. So again, this is another radar indicated tornado. So again, we are seeing that in Berkeley County near the community of Hugie. That storm with possible rotation is moving off toward the north at 40. So this is actually the storm that we were just tracking. So it looks like they've just decided to continue. So they said they were going to allow it to expire at 5:15. They've now decided the rotation looking more impressive, and they are going to continue that tornado warning for another 30 minutes. You can see that rotation just kind of on the west side of Highway 41 there.
Yeah.
And you can see the green and the red, as we've been talking about, wind going toward and away from the radar.
Yep. So right in
Dave's
this area
pointing at it
here,
right there.
just off to the north and east of Cordsville there, right along Highway 41. So it's the same thing we were looking at just a few minutes ago. So that's going to continue to push off to the north. This is headed up towards 17A. 17A goes from Jamestown on over toward Monk's Corner. So folks in Berkeley County, you know the drill. So if you're east of Monk's Corner, east of Cordsville, right along Highway 41, take cover now. So we're watching those bands spiral in off the Atlantic Ocean. So I don't know why the warning isn't popping up on here.
Yeah, it's not popping up on mine either.
But
yeah, I mean, I got the alert. Let me see what else I can see in chat here.
Yeah, it's got to be right here. This was
that same cell they were tracking.
And it looks like maybe we're looking at a new one forming back here along Highway 41. So I'm not sure if they're talking about this one, because this one certainly looks more potent than that one. I would imagine it's this one right along Highway 41. So as you go into Berkeley County, so if you live along Highway 41 in Berkeley County, go ahead and take cover. What time do they have that warning out until?
Until 5:45.
That's out until 5:45. So there it is, this whole area. So pretty much if you live north of Highway 402 and west of Highway 41 in Berkeley County, make sure that you are in your safe place. And I would really imagine that it's this one right here. And they said it was off to the north of Hugie.
About 8 miles northeast of Hugie.
So yeah, that would be here. So that would be northwest. So it's definitely this one here, moving off to the east of Highway 41, and that continues to push off to the north. Jamestown, you're under the gun, and there it is. It popped on. So
there it popped on.
So it took a little bit to get it on, and that is certainly the cell that we're looking at.
Are they taking if they want to take Max 2? Yeah, I'll zoom in. We can look at the velocity too, Dave.
Right there. You've got Honey Hill, you've got Turkey Pond right there. So this is actually a new cell. The other one that we were watching earlier is this one here around Bethera, moving on up towards 17A. But it's this one now that we're concerned with, and that's the thing. These cells, they come in off the Atlantic Ocean one after another, and they just start with that rotation. Small spin-up tornado is likely with this thunderstorm as it continues to move. Right here is the Charleston and Berkeley County line, so it's just into Berkeley County. A lot of Francis Marion National Forest here, so Garrins Bridge Road runs through there. So this is the Steed Creek Road runs through there. So we're looking at that storm moving to the north through northeastern Berkeley County, headed up toward Jamestown. So Jamestown, you are under a tornado warning at this point. So if you live in Jamestown, make sure to take cover. This thunderstorm will continue to push off to the north very quickly. Is this one moving at 50 miles an hour as well?
40, I was thinking 40? It was 40.
So we're looking at these storms moving about 40
miles per hour.
Between 40 and 50 miles an hour. So they're moving very quickly. And this one here in the Francis Marion National Forest right now, this is Highway 41. As it goes up toward Jamestown. So that's right in the middle of it. And this is Highway 45 that comes over from McClellanville. So Jamestown right there, Jamestown right in the middle of that. And this one's showing a pretty good couplet
That's
here.
Pretty good couplet, yeah.
So right there, what we're seeing is the green toward the radar, the red away from the radar. And the brighter the colors are means the faster the wind speeds are. And when you see these faster wind speeds right next to each other, that means there's some pretty tight rotation rotation up within the thunderstorm. So there's your wind toward the radar, there's your wind away from the radar. So we're definitely seeing that rotation because our radar site down in Yemassee, South Carolina. So what it's seeing here is that tight circulation within the thunderstorm. So we had a funnel cloud with that last thunderstorm that moved through Berkeley County, and this one likely has a tornado with it. That's why there's a tornado warning out. So this is going to continue to move to the north very quickly toward Jamestown. So you don't have a whole lot of time. If you live in Jamestown, some people may be just tuning in at this point. So I know it gets redundant for some of you, but if you're just tuning in Jamestown, make sure to get to the safe place in your house. The safest place is on the ground floor of your house, away from windows. If you can get into a small room like a coat closet, a powder room, a large pantry, something that you can get inside of that doesn't have windows, that's where you want to be. You want to protect your head. So even if this is not producing a tornado, it could be producing winds over 75 miles an hour. A tornado and 75-mile-an-hour winds, it doesn't matter whether you get 75 mile-an-hour winds or a tornado, they're both going to do damage. So you need to be in your safe place. Some of the roads, Yellow Jacket Road there. We also have
Farewell Corner Road. Then it's going to head up kind of toward Hellhole Road.
Yep.
Maybe Tiger Corner if it holds together.
Yep, and that's headed right on up toward Jamestown there.
And
so
there's 45,
Washington,
right? Yep,
Jamestown, and here is 45. There's 41. So this is Beaufort Town there. These are the spots that are under a tornado warning. Palmerville, you are under a tornado warning. Turkey Pond, you are under a tornado warning. I know these are some small spots, but folks do live in these areas and folks know those landmarks. So if you live in any of those areas, you need to be in your safe place right now as this thunderstorm with strong gusty winds and a possible tornado continue to move off to the north right toward Jamestown. So if you live in Jamestown, take cover right now. And Turkey Pond, you need to be in your safe place. So here is Highway 41, and this is going to take us right up to the Santee River. So once we get to the Santee River, you've got Sutton's there, you've got Alvin, which is just in Berkeley County, and if it crosses the Santee River here, then it's going to end up into Williamsburg County or excuse me, Georgetown County right there. So this is the Williamsburg and Georgetown County line. Andrews right there, but it hasn't made it that far yet. Right around Jamestown. Usually, with a tropical system, we're not talking about the big plains type tornadoes that are going to sweep your whole house away. We're talking about the kinds of tornadoes that are very small, spin up very quickly, dissipate very quickly, but they knock things over like trees and tree branches. When those things get thrown around, they cause damage. As we just saw Trooper Bob, who was going through Carolina Park neighborhood, he saw a porta potty that had been blown over. Things like that easily get blown over by a tornado. And we're really watching this tight circulation here in this thunderstorm headed to the north toward Jamestown. So it's likely producing a tornado as it pushes through the Francis Marion Forest. That's going to continue up to the north toward Jamestown. Highway 41 here. Highway 45 right here. So where those two come together, that's where we're looking at this tornado headed. So very bright colors there. Sonia, could we switch over to the correlation coefficient? See if when we switch over to the correlation coefficient, that shows objects being lofted into the air. And sometimes you can see that on radar. So here's our...
Oh, there's Jamestown. I mean, you're maybe seeing a little bit of a color difference, but not much.
Right in there. So there may be something other than raindrops being thrown up into the air. So things like tree branches and leaves and things like that. So sometimes that shows up on radar. Not real bright on this one here, but sometimes you can really tell when there's something thrown up into the sky from a tornado. But
Okay.
we are looking at that thunderstorm pushing to the north through Berkeley County. Sonia?
All right, I'm going to give you a break for just a second because we've got a couple more tornado warnings. One for Georgetown County. So that's going to be up around just north of Pawleys Island into Murrells Inlet. So I know on the outskirts of our area, that's until 5:45. That's from also moving north at 40. And then we've got one for Hampton and Jasper County. So that's just west. It must be covered up by the
Yeah, it's probably somewhere. There it is
Covered up.
right there. It looks like
Let me
that's.
see. Let me turn this off here.
Yep.
Okay, so that's moving actually further out of our area.
Yes.
But
So-
you talked about that cell in Georgetown County, so that has now moved inland.
Yep.
Capable of producing a tornado, but still seeing this.
Go back out a little wider there, Sonia, and you can see that band.
Yep.
It stretches out into the Atlantic Ocean, and each one of those little thunderstorms, they're not real big, but those little thunderstorms, once they hit land, while they're over the ocean is a very smooth surface, and these thunderstorms have no problem just gliding along the ocean. But once they hit land, the land is filled with a lot of friction. It's got things like trees and houses, and once it hits land, that friction begins to break the thunderstorm down, and it starts to rotate. So each one of these little thunderstorms, as it exits that smooth surface out over the ocean and pushes over land, they start to rotate, and sometimes they do produce tornadoes, usually a small, quick spin up. And look at that thunderstorm.
Yeah, look at that, Dave. Okay, so this was an hour ago, right? So this was the couplet that we were tracking just off the coast of Sullivan's Island. So you can kind of point out to people there and watch as we track it northward. You see it?
Yep.
There it goes into Berkeley County, and then that's the same cell that we're tracking right now.
And I said, you remember, we both said, hey, we've got to watch this one. There it is. So possible tornado here moving through Berkeley County in the Francis Marion Forest there, right around Bethera. You're under a tornado warning. Palmerville under that tornado warning along Highway 45, and especially Jamestown. You're right in the center of this. So this continues to push very quickly to the north at about 40 miles an hour. So hopefully the tornado does dissipate, but even if it does, we're still looking at strong gusty winds. And the reason we're taking these so seriously, because we had a very small circulation that moved through North Mount Pleasant, and we've seen the pictures of the damage that it did. It knocked trees over, and if those trees get knocked over into your house, that's going to cause damage. Trooper Bob saw that porta potty that was knocked over. So these tornadoes and these strong gusty winds are causing damage, and that's what we're going to watch very closely here. Plus, we've still got high tide coming up tonight, and high tide is at 8:24, and that high tide tonight is forecast to be an 8.5 foot high tide. An 8.5 high tide is a half a foot over major flooding. So I'm expecting major flooding in downtown Charleston. It's going to be even worse if we see the onshore flow tonight. It's going to be even worse if we see the heavy rain in downtown Charleston, which I expect both things to occur. So this storm is not over. In fact, the worst of the storm is likely coming still through the evening. Even if you get the rain clearing out, we still have to deal with some tropical storm force winds as the center of that storm moves right over top of the Lowcountry. So maybe a little bit of something there, but
yeah, I mean, it's really going to be Jamestown. I mean, it's headed straight for Jamestown and then just to the west of Palmerville. But I was just seeing if anything.
So
I
there it
see
is.
Anything else?
And you can see that heavy rain.
Palmerville. Yeah, I mean, you can clear Hellhole Road, Simmons Road, Tiger Corner Road.
Yes.
I mean, that's clearly where that area of rotation is.
Well, and
but it's looking broader, though. Look, Dave.
Definitely. That's a good call, Sonia. That's a very good call. It is. It's spreading out a little bit. We're not seeing those bright colors, the bright red and the bright green next to each other. We're seeing a lighter green, a lighter red. That's a good indication that the rotation is starting to break down in that thunderstorm, but still gusty winds. And we have a lot of folks that say, oh, I want to go out and see a tornado. I want to see this. I want to see that. Well, I say definitely not, because these tornadoes are likely rain wrapped. So they're inside of a torrential downpour that you can't even see. So it looks like you're just going to get a big shower headed your way, and then all of a sudden you're inside of a tornado. So just get to your safe place if you're under a tornado warning. And that's where we have Palmerville right now. That's where we have Jamestown right now, right along Highway 41. So right along Jackie Road there, right around Farewell Corner Road, so Hellhole Road, and that's where we're seeing the rotation around Hellhole Road and Simmons Road. So this thunderstorm continues to move to the north through Berkeley County, headed right toward the intersection of Highway 41 and Highway 45. So this is firmly in Berkeley County. It's headed up toward the Santee River, and that's going to continue to move off to the north very quickly. Look at that torrential downpour. The red color there indicates very heavy rainfall. So there is torrential rain coming down with this thunderstorm. Flash flooding is possible with these thunderstorms and these bands as they spiral in off the Atlantic Ocean. So we're watching those heavy rain showers continue with those bands coming in off the Atlantic Ocean. So that's the one we're watching off to the west of Palmerville right now, getting very close to Jamestown. So Jamestown, you are under that tornado warning. Make sure you are in your safe place. Make sure to crank up the volume on your TV. That way I'll give you the all clear once this thunderstorm has moved out. Mack Drive, you need to be in your safe place right along Greenleaf Drive. And there's downtown Jamestown right there where Highway 45 and 41 come together in 17A. So that's where we're watching so closely. So we'll continue to watch this push off to the north through eastern Berkeley County. So as we set things in motion, there it is. It continues to move in. And now we're sitting with a thunderstorm, possibly producing a tornado right there in northeastern Berkeley County. So that's going to continue to move up toward the Santee River. Our rotation, as Sonia pointed out, has gotten a lot wider and a lot weaker. So hopefully we're not talking about a tornado anymore, Sonia.
Right, yeah, hopefully not. I mean, yeah, you think about, you know, when something's compact, when that couplet's really close together, the green and the red are really close together, you're looking at a tighter rotation. But as it starts to broaden out, then we look at weakening. So just waiting to see, because as of now, the tornado warning until 5:45. So just waiting to see if they've got any updates here from the National Weather Service. And they did have, let's see, actually, let's zoom out here, David. Let's see if they have any of those other warnings that we were tracking in Jasper and Hampton County as well, and Georgetown. We can hop over to Georgetown too and see.
Definitely northern Georgetown County here, just off to the north of Pawleys Island, right along Highway 17 there. Here's Highway 701 out toward Plantersville. There's Plantersville. You're right on the edge of this tornado warning. That's moving very quickly, and it's going to be tough for the radar to see.
Right, it's so far away. We need to switch to the Wilmington one to see that radar or that rotation.
It's just getting ready to cross from Georgetown into Horry County there. This is Highway 701. That'll take you up to Conway. This is Highway 17. That'll take you up toward Garden City and Myrtle Beach. And that's really weakening as it pushes off to the north.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Look at that with that latest sweep.
Definitely not as concerned with that one.
No. Let's head back and let's see.
And even this one looks like
Look at this. It's like shifted. It's moved more toward almost to the north and west.
Over toward Beaufort Town there. So
yeah, let's look at the rotation there.
Move up to the north here, and now it's kind of shifted right along Highway 41 again. So, and there it is. There's some broad rotation there, just right at
around
the creek,
Jamestown, would you say?
A little farther south, around that little creek. Yep, right there.
41. So it's kind of shifted off toward the
toward the
west
north
a
and
little
west.
Bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So there we continue to watch that. So Beaufort Town, make sure you're in your safe place. Jamestown, still you should be in your safe place. Alvin, this is headed up in your direction as well. So everybody that lives in those areas needs to be in their safe place. And a great thing to do is download the ABC News 4 Storm Tracker weather app. And that way you get the watches and the warnings right to your phone, and I even get them right here to my watch. So if you see me checking my watch every once in a while, it's because I get watches and warnings right to my phone. So that ABC News 4 weather app that you're seeing over here, that's a very valuable tool, especially in a situation like this. So we are still seeing that rotation there right along Highway 41, just off to the south of Jamestown. But Jamestown, you are still under that tornado warning. So if you live in Jamestown, not in the clear just yet. If you live in Alvin, you're not in the clear yet. So we're going to continue to see this tornado warning for the next, let's see,
about 9 minutes.
9 minutes. So
yeah, let me see. Nope, still no update here. Let me zoom in and we can give some. So we know obviously right along 41, but we're also looking at Gumville Road. Forest Road. Let's see if we can zoom in and pick up some others. So we said Gumville Road, Jackie Road, kind of just north of Farewell Corner Road.
McKay House Road over there.
Town Road.
There's Hellhole Road. So it's kind of moved out of that area. It's right along Highway 41 there, right around Jackie Road and Farewell Corner Road. So that's where we're seeing the rotation at this point with a possible tornado. And there it is. So you've got your red and your green close together. It is pretty broad. There may or may not be a tornado, but there are strong gusty winds no matter what. So just stay inside, and everyone should just stay inside this evening. It's not going to be a nice night. It's not going to be the worst night we've ever seen, but it's not going to be a very nice night. So you might as well stay inside, stay safe, and we'll get through this because our weather is going to improve dramatically even by about 8, 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. And through the day tomorrow, it's going to be gorgeous, and we're going to have a gorgeous weekend. So let's all be safe over the next several hours, and then we can get on and enjoy our Labor Day holiday weekend. So there we go. We still have the tornado warning. It has been shaved back quite a bit.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to stick with it till 5:45. Yeah, saying it's moving north at 35, located over Jamestown, but I feel like more of that rotation has, unless it's maybe spread out over a much larger area.
Yeah, it could be a real broad rotation.
I mean, because we're kind of seeing that area there,
this
northwest
area
of Jamestown, and then do you see this other area over 41? So it's almost like it's kind of... But I mean, both areas are in the warning.
Which would probably indicate one big broad area of rotation around Jamestown there. So the area off to the south of Jamestown, the area off to the north of Jamestown. So if you're in Jamestown, just stay in your safe place for now. We can get through these next several minutes, and hopefully we don't have any damage up here with the gusty winds, with the tornado as it heads up toward the Santee River here. That's what this dark line is. That's the Santee River. That's Williamsburg County over there. That's Georgetown County over here. And the Santee River runs out and empties into the Atlantic Ocean. And this storm is headed up toward the Santee River right around Jamestown. So we're seeing that circulation there. And this will continue to move up to the north and head toward the Santee River, right through much of the Francis Marion National Forest there. So it's a very forested area, and a lot of folks do live in this forested area, so I want to make sure that everybody out here stays safe. Plus, we all have to deal with a tropical storm. It's no longer a hurricane. Idalia has weakened to a tropical storm. I've been saying all along we should prepare for tropical storm conditions. We're getting those tropical storm conditions with the isolated tornadoes, with the gusty winds, with the heavy rainfall. And then on top of that, just because of the moon phase, we have an astronomical high tide tonight, and that astronomical high tide comes around 8:24, and I think that's when we're going to see some of the worst weather, possibly some of the strongest winds, and that could make our flooding, especially in downtown Charleston, even worse. We're going to be looking at that water level rising in downtown Charleston. The forecast right now is for an 8.2 or 8.5 foot high tide later on this evening. So Sonia's pointing it out right here on the velocity. We've got some rotation there along Highway 41. We've got some rotation up here as well, right along the Santee River. So it looks like the rotation kind of split into two different areas.
Yeah, that's what it's looking like to me too. Just, you know, no updates from them. So again, just watching those two areas, but both in the warning area.
Yes. So that's
we
the
can
key.
zoom out just to see kind of if we're watching any other bands, Dave.
Yeah, do you want to take a look at the whole storm here? Because we haven't done that in a while, and if you're just tuning in, we do have a tropical storm. Tropical storm Idalia is down here, down around Savannah, and that's going to continue to push to the north and the east. Now, it may make it back out over the Atlantic Ocean, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Usually you don't want to see a tropical system over water, but this thing has really been torn apart over the last several hours. It made landfall at 7:45 this morning, so it's been over land for almost 12 hours, and it's a shell of what it was earlier this morning as a Category 3 hurricane. It was even a Category 4 before it made landfall, and right now it's tough to pick out even where the center of this storm is, but this is Tropical Storm Idalia in this area here, down around Savannah. It's going to continue to move off to the north and the east, very close to the coast of South Carolina, and we're going to continue to see See all this heavy rain back here? That's moving off to the northeast as well. So we've seen bands come through already, but there's more. There's much more back here, and it's being sucked in off the Atlantic Ocean in those feeder bands. Fortunately, these feeder bands back here to the south don't look as bad as the ones that we're dealing with right now into parts of Berkeley County, headed up into Williamsburg, Georgetown County, even northern Charleston County. But we are going to see more heavy rain moving in as we head through the evening. So the flooding concern goes way up. We haven't seen the tropical storm force winds either. Those are back here with the center of the tropical storm. So as that center of the tropical storm comes up over top of us tonight into the wee hours of our Thursday, we're going to be looking at those tropical storm force winds moving in a little bit later on. So we are not done with this storm. In fact, I think the worst of the storm comes our way right around high tide this evening. So we're coming up on, let's see, we have 5:42 right now, and our tornado warning in Berkeley County does expire at 5:45, so hopefully they're going to go ahead and expire that. The thunderstorm does look like it's weakened pretty considerably, and right now we're seeing those thunderstorms out over the ocean, maybe not quite as bad. This one out here looks kind of nasty, but that's pretty far away. That's not going to come on shore in the Lowcountry. We've got another line trying to set up here. We've got another line trying to set up here. So you've got one here, you've got one here, you've got another one trying, and that's what the feeder bands do. They're feeding the moisture in off the Atlantic Ocean to this storm, and that's why you see the heavy rain back here along I-95. We're probably, Sonia said we expired the warning, but we're probably going to get some flooding right along I-95. I know into Walterboro, where you had that flooding just a couple weeks ago, you're going to get hit with some heavy rain once again. So flooding will be likely as we go through the evening, and we're going to talk more about that. So if you do live in Berkeley County, and I told you to go to your safe place, you can come out now because the tornado warning is expiring right now. So the tornado warning is expiring. We're looking at a tornado watch out until 10 o'clock this evening. We're all under a tropical storm warning, so we're going to see those tropical storm conditions through the rest of the evening into the wee hours of our Thursday. We've got a whole lot more to talk about with this storm, so we're going to be looking at that coming up here in just a few minutes. But right now, we'll throw it back to Katie Soul.
And we're going to give Dave a break. Thank you so much, Dave and Sonia, for constantly keeping us updated. It is not easy what they do. They've been going wall to wall on several tornado warnings since before our special coverage at 4 p.m. started. So thank you to them. Please stay tuned in with us. Download our weather app. They will be staying with us all night tracking Idalia. And again, you can download the Storm Tracker weather app right now. It is free. It has been sending me alerts all day, keeping me informed before I got into the office. So please take the time and download that now and stay tuned in here for more updates from Dave and Sonia as we move throughout the evening. But we do want to send things back out to downtown Charleston now with our Webb. Webb, we can see those flags whipping in the wind behind you. So what do things look like on Market Street?
Absolutely. What we've seen earlier were people walking toward the coast. Now we starting to see a steady crowd coming away from the coast. That's because the wind is picking up, the rain is picking up, and of course the businesses here on Market Street, this is nothing new for them, and they prepare. As you see T-Bones here, they closed at 3 o'clock. They've got the sandbags down, and if you walk down a little bit further, we've got Kaminsky's. They also have the sandbags. As people start to come away from the coast because they see the rain and they feel this wind, now we know it's going to get a lot worse. We're going to expect more flooding coming up later in the night, maybe around 8 o'clock. Things are really going to pick up. Right now, the wind is really picking up, and as you can see, we have the sandbags here. So these businesses are ready. They're ready for this flooding that we're expecting starting around high tide, and we're going to see a brunt of the weather here between maybe, 8:30 and midnight. And then again, as we head down here, we see a lot of people coming away, and they're starting to take shelter because this storm is coming, and with it, it's going to be plenty of rain and plenty of flooding. But that's a little bit down the road. Right now, we still have a few kind of stragglers, I guess, wandering around the market. The market is closed, of course. The wind is starting to pick up. You can see the banners over here. They're starting to really blow here in this wind. And right now we're just kind of waiting on the worst of it as the flooding is expected later on in the evening. And of course, we'll keep track and keep you up to date reporting here on Market Street. Webb Wright, back to you.
To bring the peninsula to a standstill. Leaders certainly hoping this time it's different. This is video of the pumps over the Battery wall right now off Murray Boulevard. There are several set up through downtown. City leaders will monitor the flooding and turn on the pumps when they see fit. Now let's head a little further south now. Edisto Island seeing those high tides, that wind all day today. Our Sedasia Smalls has been out there since early this afternoon. Sid, wind was whipping earlier. What does it look like now?
Hey there, so we actually had to move across the street because the tide started to become closer to the cars. So we moved across the street. As y'all can see from this angle here, we're overlooking the beach. Still very, very strong winds, and the foam from the water has actually started hitting even harder. So it just got real messy over there. We had to move to this side be a little bit safer. There's still some people that was out on the water. There was one moment that we seen someone swimming, which ideally is not a great thing to do right now. Like our meteorologist has been saying, stay inside if you can. Just stay inside, period. Stay away from these conditions out here. It's really not safe. The winds are still blowing hard. These trees are just moving a little bit too, just a lot going on. It's really not the best conditions to be standing outside right now. But we're going to continue to, just keep a watch on everything. These waves they're crashing. They're not even just normally hitting like usual. But I want to go ahead and just send it back to you guys in the studio. For now, I'm Sedasia Smalls out on Edisto Beach.
All right, thanks, Sid. And based on the traffic map, it looks like a lot of people taking our advice, staying at home. We don't normally see this much green all across the area at this time of day, so I like to see that a little bit of slowdown in and out of Mount Pleasant. Now, I'm going to show you this. These are just some of the road closures, right? And then I'm going to read them kind of slowly because there's just too many to make a list. Morris and Felix Street. I'm just going to read some of them. Morrison Drive near the Highway 17 ramp, and then we're looking at North and South Market between Concord Street and Meeting Street, also parts of Riverland Drive, other parts of Rutledge Avenue between Calhoun and Bennett are all closed, all lanes closed on the South Battery between King Street and Meeting Street. And we're looking at more road closures. Smith Street at various locations, Washington Street at various locations. We've kind of got a running list of these road closures on our website, so you can go to abcnews4.com for the latest. And then just we'll give you a live look. Again, this is one of the spots where I'm typically tracking a lot of traffic. So like to see that there aren't many people on the roadways, and hopefully those people are headed home and will stay in place as we head through this evening and as the conditions with Idalia continue to deteriorate.
This ABC News 4 Traffic Tracker Update was sponsored by Mr. Sparky, America's on-time electrician.
And we are seeing those stormy conditions pick up across the Lowcountry. Our Ann Emerson is actually live from downtown. She's on the Batteries. We saw Webb on the Market Street side and on the opposite side. And you can really see the wind blowing out where you are.
Katie, it's picked up tremendously. I can really feel it now out on as the bands are coming in here from the harbor across the Battery. I have been getting nailed by some of the spray coming through. We certainly still have people right now looking to see what it looks like before it gets dark, but hopefully all of those people are going to be going inside because these waves are really starting to pick up. And of course, we know that the tide is coming up with the astronomical high tide later this evening. Also, we know that we're expecting some major downtown flooding, so we're going to be keeping an eye on these streets. They are still relatively dry as the water starts breaching over the seawall, but we're going to have to be keeping an eye on that, of course, throughout the day. Now, we talked to some folks earlier today, and really one of the big concerns was the tornado warnings that we we're seeing. You know, when you're out here on the Battery, you get an amazing opportunity to see these bands actually coming across into the harbor, crossing over into areas like Mount Pleasant. And on my Twitter, I actually posted some video earlier of one of these tornado warning areas that we're going through. It was like this massive black cloud that was headed into the Shem Creek area. Really scary, and hopefully everybody stayed safe. We certainly heard, and we are still keeping a very close eye with our wonderful meteorologists on these tornado warnings tonight. And I will be reporting live here in downtown this evening, letting you know how these conditions are going to be coming in. Back to you in the studio.
All right, thank you, Ann, and stay with us. There is much more to come here on News 4. You're taking a live look at Folly right now. Our team of meteorologists and our team of reporters continuing to track conditions throughout the Lowcountry. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
Sponsored by 5 Stars Roofing.
Businesses along the South Carolina coast are prepping for flooding, especially shops on Front Street in Georgetown, an area that floods regularly during heavy rain. Joel Vasquez spoke with business owners today as they geared up for Idalia.
Front Street is notorious for flooding, and while many of the shops I spoke with aren't too concerned about Idalia, they're not taking any chances when it comes to water getting into their shops. It's go time for businesses on Front Street.
We're just really looking to keep the flood water out.
Catherine Kozlov, owner of Augustus in Carolina, is setting sandbags in front of her store, but she's learned over the years that she needs other lines of defense.
And behind the sandbags, we put some Tyvek paper or water barrier, and then also on the inside at all the doors, we have these black dam barriers, which are gel-filled, and they absorb the water as it comes in.
Kozlov starts preparing for hurricanes and tropical storms in June.
Because once a hurricane comes, you're limited in your time, so we try to be ahead of the game.
Front Street is known for its charming downtown look and mom-and-pop shops, but it also has a reputation of flooding quickly and easily.
I think the deepest I've seen would be knee-deep, yeah.
These employees from Thomas Cafe say along with setting out sandbags, they're preparing to lose power.
If the power does go out, you know, we have everything set up, like the coolers and all of that, so everything doesn't go bad.
These businesses can't wait for Idalia to pass so they can open up shop for the holiday weekend.
Once the flood water recedes, it's business back as normal, and we'll be open hopefully Thursday, Friday.
Now, there were quite a few people walking down Front Street, either visiting some restaurants or some stores, and one couple I spoke with tells me that they were grabbing a bite at their favorite place before having to be stuck in the house.
While it's definitely not a focal point for a lot of us right now, a reminder that we are approaching Labor Day weekend. Simon Williams from our Myrtle Beach sister station is working to learn if Idalia is changing visitors' plans.
Even with Idalia approaching, you see people are in downtown Myrtle Beach here on the boardwalk. Now, some we spoke with are locals who just wanted a front row seat of what was happening over the Atlantic. Others are visitors who said it was best to just wait it out instead of trying to drive through the system. But on both sides, they say they are cautiously watching. We've reported the Myrtle Beach Area Chamber of Commerce says Memorial Day, the 4th of July, and Labor Day are the big three. And at the beginning of the season, they told us inflation wouldn't stop trips, but weather carried a lot of weight as people weren't going to pay for a washout. For those already here, though, the mindset is to make the most out of the situation.
We've kind of packed things up just in case we get a call that says you got to evacuate. But other than that, I'm just going to ride it out.
We're going to chill. I think it's just kind of neat to see, the weather, the different changes.
Now, I also spoke to a woman out here who says she knows times are tough right now, so she just hopes people aren't prematurely canceling their Labor Day weekend plans. She hopes that the businesses and restaurants and hotels get all that Labor Day traffic that a lot depend on.
Tonight at 6, as Idalia dumps rain across the Lowcountry, the city is pumping it back out. Take a look at this. Just crazy. The storm triggered tornadoes this afternoon. This one flipped a car in Goose Creek. And we're watching the water creep closer as high tide rolls in.
Minutes ago to reaffirm that they were standing by with it, whatever help they could give. And I remind everybody again that this wind and rain is coming right at high tide, it looks like.
Storm Tracker Chief Meteorologist Dave Williams joining us now. That timing the governor mentioned is key. You've been talking about it all week, you and Sonia both. So a lot of people probably wondering, is it still looking that way in about 2.5 hours now?
Absolutely, Katie. And one of the big concerns was we would get heavy rain. That's already occurred. So there's ponding of water already in downtown Charleston. We've got more coming. Tropical storm warning is in effect. We've got a storm tracker day until early Thursday morning. Heavy rain, coastal flooding, gusty winds. Our traffic light is lit yellow. This isn't the worst situation we've ever seen. It's not the worst situation we're ever going to see. But We are seeing the impacts. We've got damage from trees being blown down. We have damage from possible tornadoes. So we are looking at that. As we get a look out over the intercoastal waterway here, 82 degrees, and we're looking at plenty of clouds out there. And we are going to see those feeder bands continuing to come inland. Here you go. Tropical storm warnings. Everyone under a tropical storm warning. As far as hurricane warnings, they're gone because we're not looking at a hurricane. We're looking at a tropical storm. But we're also looking at those tropical storm force winds moving across the Savannah River now. Look at the wind gust right now in Beaufort, 40-mile-an-hour wind gust, 35-mile-an-hour wind gust in Orangeburg, 31 in Charleston. So we've already seen a lot of rain. We've seen tornadoes. Now we've got the tropical storm part of it to come through this evening. So the worst is yet to come, especially with those onshore winds and high tide coming up later tonight. Look at some of these wind gusts. As we go through the next several hours, we're looking at those winds gusting up over 40 miles an hour, 35 to 40 miles an hour through 3 o'clock in the morning. Even 7 o'clock in the morning, looking at those winds gusting up around 30 miles an hour. Finally, by about lunchtime tomorrow, the winds start to ease just a little bit, and by 9 p.m. tomorrow, finally, things are calm. Here you go. We're under a tornado watch until 10 p.m. That's everyone in the area. We've already seen tornado warnings, and we're looking at these feeder bands coming in off the Atlantic Ocean. That's our biggest concern. The next one that I'm going to watch very closely, this one around Edisto Beach. The problem is that may end up around downtown around the time of high tide. You can see that. Moving up toward Charleston, high tide, 8:24 this evening. So that heavy rain continues to move up toward downtown Charleston, onshore winds, and we already know that it's going to be an astronomical high tide. So that's what we're most concerned with around high tide this evening. Major coastal flooding is forecast for downtown Charleston. We've got 81 degrees at 7 p.m. with those showers and thunderstorms, rain still in the area at 9 p.m. And then, like we saw, those tropical storm force winds, they're going to be headed up by about 11 o'clock tonight. So we're not done with this storm by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, some of the worst is probably yet to come. We'll track more of Idalia and get you a look at a gorgeous Labor Day holiday weekend. That's all coming up here in just a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Dave. And we are closely watching the impact Idalia will have on our beaches. Our Floriana Boardman live out on Edisto. Floriana, we can see that wind and that rain coming in. It's gotten significantly worse even in the last 15 minutes.
Oh, definitely, Katie. I mean, I can barely see the camera right in front of me. The wind and that rain is just really, really strong. It's smacking us right in the face. You can see just how gray it is outside, how those palm trees, the power cables are just moving very... They're all moving as these strong winds are coming in. Like Dave was mentioning before, these are maybe 30 to 40 mile per hour winds. I mean, they feel even stronger than that because that rain is also coming in, and it is just, it is coming straight from the coast. You can just see how strong it is. You can see how it is even on the ground, on the roadways. You can see how quickly it's moving towards us. We had to move back because the waves have started to come over the dunes, and they've started to come over the dunes into the area where we were parked before, and so now we are across the street just to make sure we are safe. So I'm going to toss it back to you guys in the studio.
All right, thank you, Floriana. Now, pushing water back out into the harbor is a new sight to see. Here's a new video of one of those pumps at the Battery downtown. It's one of several being used to try to keep flooding at bay. And Emerson has been monitoring conditions downtown, specifically from the Battery. And the city has several lanes closed at multiple intersections as of now. And that could and likely will increase as we approach high tide.
Katie, that's exactly what we're hearing, isn't it? That we're going to see some major flooding, especially as we reach that high tide later on this evening. Now, what we've been seeing is this water is starting to breach on a regular basis over the seawall, and it is right now just kind of interesting to the people that are out here, some of the onlookers, and we just ran into a few of them just a minute ago. Come over here. This is Maddie, right, Maddie?
Yes. Hello.
Okay, and these are some of her friends. Hi, guys.
Hello.
You came out here, of course, it's still relatively safe right now, but I know that conditions are starting to deteriorate. Why did you come out here?
We live not too far, just down the street, and we figured why not, while we could still drive around, just check it out a little bit.
Yeah, not many people can say that they've done this. Might as well while we're here.
Are y'all from around here?
A few of us from Charlotte, a few from Michigan, but we all live together.
Yeah.
Great. So this is an extraordinary amount of wind and rain. I think y'all are going to get pretty wet if you keep on staying out here.
Yeah.
Are you prepared for the flooding downtown?
For the most part, we moved all of our cars into parking garages. We've taken a few. We take all of our plants down outside.
We got the sandbags and everything ready.
Great, great. What year are you guys?
We are juniors now.
Oh, fantastic.
Third year here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for talking to us. And
Thank you.
we are all going to be monitoring it and keeping in touch with news4.com, right? To make sure that you're going to get the latest on what's going on with this storm tonight. You know, right now we are still seeing relatively dry conditions, right, on the sidewalk, except for when these waves come over and take us and get us quite sprayed. But besides that, it's still pretty dry. We're just waiting for the storm to keep on coming in with everybody else. Reporting live at the Battery right now, I'm Ann Emerson, News 4.
All right, thank you, Anna. Now would be a good time to remind people to heed our meteorologist warnings and stay indoors if you can this evening, especially as high tide approaches and flooding is imminent. Stay indoors, stay off the roads, and stay safe. Meanwhile, competing with Mother Nature, a local athletics director says he ran for cover when a tornado formed nearby. Scott Eisberg spoke with him about the harrowing ordeal in North Mount Pleasant.
It's amazing how close you can be, but how different things are in a storm like this. We are down on the market in downtown Charleston, and right now, frankly, it's okay. There's nothing going on. Really, the winds are fine, and there's no rain coming down. Literally 10 miles north of us, up in North Mount Pleasant, the Charleston National Subdivision, completely different just moments ago. I caught up with Mark Meyer. He's somebody I cover often. He is the athletics director for Oceanside Collegiate. Wow, what an experience he just went through.
Raining pretty hard and it was blowing pretty good. Just one of those bands that was coming through. You know, I'm born and raised in Charleston, so I've done this 1,000 times, but something caught my ear. It literally sounded like a truck coming down, like a UPS truck or something, but a little bit louder than normal. So I went out on my front porch, and then the houses across the street from me are on a big expanse of marsh between them and the Intercoastal Waterway. And it was clear of rotation and debris was flying up behind their houses. And it sort of went behind, along parallel to our street from my right to the left behind my neighbors' houses. And once it cleared and, you know, all the neighbors went outside, we were all comparing notes. But it was definitely a tornado. Did a lot of damage to some trees, street signs, mailboxes got cracked in half, garage doors got blown in. Yeah, it was a scary couple of seconds. The first time I've ever run or even yelled at my wife to run to an interior room. You know, you hear that your whole life, but I've never had to do it.
I mean, you've never had to run through an interior. At what point did you just say, I got to run inside? I got to stay safe here?
As soon as I saw the rotation and saw that one little spurt off of it sort of came towards like my direction, which made me like quit looking at it and enjoying the view and like say, hey, this is serious. We got to go inside and shut the door. Yeah. First time. I've never seen one before.
Charleston National, where he lives, has a golf course on it. That golf course, one of the epicenters of where Hurricane Hugo hit back in 1989, really wiped it off the map. Thankfully, this one not nearly as serious. In Charleston, I'm Scott Eisberg. I'll send it back to you.
And we checked in with Charleston County leaders. A spokesperson says 19 people are staying in the shelter on Leeds Avenue. That's up in North Charleston. It will be open until 10 tomorrow morning, and pets are welcome. If you need a ride, call 843-746-3900. And as we go to break, the calm before the storm this morning, an incredible sunrise in Charleston. We are tracking Adalia with more live team coverage coming up.
It's the Rooms to Go Labor Day sale. Save on this stylish living room with sofa, chair, two-piece cocktail table, and 2
another Tracking Adalia update, sponsored by 5 Stars Roofing.
All right, guys, I'm down here on Lockwood Boulevard at Broad Street. I want to show you what's going on here. The water coming in, the tide is pretty much level, just about level with the sidewalk. You can see someone actually just stopped by to take some video of it. We took some video earlier. This is that incoming tide that Dave and Sonia were talking about. This is why it's so important to stay home now and not be down here, because once it gets dark, you're not going to be able to see how deep the water is on the roadways. You might drive down the road, and 20 minutes later, that tide comes in, and it comes in at a fast rate, and it might cover the roadway, and you're going to be boxed in downtown, especially with the one-way streets, so it would be hard to get out. I want to go back to Carolina Park for a second. We got some updated information there. We spoke to a homeowner who had damage there at his house. Tornado came through there, according to reports. It picked up a porta potty, hit his Jeep. That Jeep got pushed into a palmetto tree, and as the homeowner tells me, as he was listening to the alerts on his phone from the tornado warning, the windows and the door was shattering in his house. So that's how dangerous it was. And just like Dave and Sonia tell you, you don't have 10, 15, 20 minutes to seek shelter. You have literally seconds or a minute to do it right then as those warnings are going through. So that's what makes it so dangerous. I'll send it over to a break now. We'll be right back with some more coverage of this hurricane.
Subaru, more than a car dealer. Find out why at cruisesubaru.com.
Summer is starting to wind down, so at West Shore Home, we're ramping up the savings with our Labor Day sale. Right now, we're doing window and door projects for as low as $99 a month. Plus, for a limited time, free labor. That means this week, we're going to completely cover the cost of labor with free installation. To take advantage of this offer, just give us a call now.
That's an incredible deal, BJ. Now, I know a lot of homeowners are seeing their energy bills skyrocketing through these summer months, but they just don't want the hassle of starting a window or door replacement project right now. How can you help?
Joe, I get it. As a homeowner myself, I know it's a pain to find the right company to work with. First, you need to find the right product on the right timeline, because you don't want to order right now and have to wait 6 months for installation.
Tides 2 hours from now. We're already looking at the waves crashing up over top of the dunes at Edisto Beach. 2 hours from now, high tide. Downtown Charleston is going to see major flooding tonight. Low-lying spots close to the coast and close to tidal creeks are going to see major flooding tonight. Winds are on shore. There's more heavy rain coming in. We're going to see major flooding. This is going to get worse before it gets better. Hopefully you live on high ground and you don't have to worry about that, but some folks are really going to have to contend with this. 82 degrees outside right now. We no longer have a hurricane. We have a tropical storm. We're going to experience tropical storm conditions this evening. That's what I need you to prepare for. From I-95 all the way to the coast. It's wind and rain inland. It's the coastal flooding along the coast. Everyone is impacted by this storm. Here's what we have for you. This is my worst case scenario, and I've had this graphic made since Monday. My biggest concern tonight. Rounds of heavy rain, we've already seen it. More is on the way. East-northeasterly onshore winds and a 8:24 p.m. lunar high tide, which is now forecast to be 8.7 feet. We could make it onto the all-time highest crests list. It's going to be wet. And it's going to be a lot of water. Major flooding expected. We still have moderate flooding in downtown Charleston expected Thursday night and again on Friday night. So we're dealing with those gusty winds coming in now. 31-mile-an-hour wind gust in Beaufort, 31-mile-an-hour wind gust in Charleston, 35-mile-an-hour wind gust in Orangeburg. So we're all going to see the tropical storm force winds. Here is our storm. We're under a tornado watch until 10 p.m. Tough to pick out the center of the storm, but it's right about there near Savannah. And I'm really watching some of these bands coming in off the Atlantic Ocean. Strong thunderstorms. This one headed toward Georgetown. That's the band that already came through here earlier. And this one setting up a band of heavy rain. Not at the time we want to see it. Headed toward high tide, headed toward downtown Charleston. Even more rain back behind that Beaufort. That's going to shift to the northeast because our storm is moving to the northeast. As we take a look at some of those damage reports, yes, that's a tornado right there. We had a tornado that flipped a car on Highway 52. So that's a confirmed tornado. We've seen damage reports from around town. Heavy rain, closed roads, Crowfield Village. Heavy rain here around Megget. 3.8 inches of rain, and that was as of 2/19. Some folks are going to pick up over 7 inches of rain from this storm system. There are those bands spiraling in. Fortunately, these bands looking a little bit weaker. They still have torrential downpours, but hopefully the tornado threat will start to fade. Notice the tornado watch ends at the Savannah River. As the center passes us by, the tornado threat passes us by as well. There is our storm. Take a look at Futurecast, and we've got that heavy rain right now. Wind forward in time, 8 p.m. Not when we want to see that heavy rain in downtown Charleston. We dry things out a little bit by 11, and then some more rain on the backside of the storm, but at least the winds are offshore, hopefully pushing some of that water out into the Atlantic Ocean. By 6 o'clock in the morning, the rain's done. And then it's bright and sunny tomorrow. I expect gorgeous weather most of the day tomorrow. It just will stay a little bit breezy at times, and then into our Friday. Nothing but bright sun, and we'll take that gorgeous weather with us into the weekend. No more than a few fair weather clouds. 72, bands of heavy rain, very gusty winds overnight tonight. Then tomorrow, 84 degrees, a shower early, breezy and clearing into the afternoon. Everyone stay safe, stay home. Tonight's not the night to go out. Tomorrow morning is a storm tracker day, better in the afternoon. And after that, we see gorgeous weather into the holiday weekend, lower humidity, and lots of sunshine.
We've seen multiple tornado warnings impacting areas not far from Somerville today. And let's head up to that part of the Lowcountry now where Conley Grayson has been assessing the situation.
We are in downtown Somerville, and we haven't seen much flooding because we've only seen this rain on and off. But as you can see, all of the stores along downtown Somerville have prepared. They've all put sandbags out, and you can see that in front of each individual store. They've all been preparing. If you look at the roads, they're actually still pretty clear. Again, this rain has been on and off, so we're only seeing that pile up kind of close to the gutters just because of that elevation change. If you're looking at the grass and the sidewalks, they are pretty saturated. You've got a puddle here and there, but again, we haven't seen that much flooding, or at least not dangerous flooding yet. Reporting in downtown Somerville, I'm Conley Grayson. Seen much flooding